Hello, this is a continuation of my read-through of an old essay I wrote on the Baha'i faith in the West, this one dealing with organizational transformation roughly from 1922 through to 1934. I've divided it into two parts for ease of recording. So this is based on an essay which I published in 2004, The Baha'i Faith in the West, a survey. There's also a summary of this material in my book, The Babi and Baha'i Religions. The references are given below. So, Abdu'l-Baha's death in November 1921 and Shoghi Effendi's succession in January 1922 marked a major turning point in the history of the Baha'i faith. I've designated a second phase in the development of the Baha'i religion in the West. In sociological terms, there was a change in the basis of authority of the supreme leadership of the religion, from the personal charismatic authority of Abdu'l-Baha, and before him of Baha'u'llah, to the institutionalized charisma of office of the guardianship. This change in leadership was followed by two successive and overlapping organizational changes, which marked the establishment of what Shoghi Effendi termed the formative age of the Baha'i faith. These were the consolidation of the system of local and national spiritual assemblies, the subject of this video and the next one, and the adoption of systematic planning as the chief strategy in the propagation of the religion, which I'll deal with in later videos. As in the earlier period, the United States was the dominant Western Baha'i community and developed and pioneered many of these changes. One of Shoghi Effendi's chief concerns when he assumed the office of guardian was to regularize and consolidate a system of locally and nationally elected spiritual assemblies as a means both of providing the Baha'is with institutionalized leadership at the present time and of preparing the way for the future election of the Universal House of Justice. In April 1922, he issued his first general letter on the Baha'i administrative order to the Western Baha'is, calling for the urgent establishment of assemblies wherever this was feasible, and for the assemblies to assume direct authority for all Baha'i activities within the geographical areas of their jurisdictions. A second general letter in March 1923 amplified and extended these instructions. In the West, developments on these lines proceeded rapidly. National spiritual assemblies were formed in Britain and Germany in 1923, whilst the executive board of the American Baha'i Temple of Unity was transformed from an executive body implementing the decisions of the Temple Unity's convention delegates into a directive legislative body vested with authority over the entire North American Baha'i community, that is, including both the United States and Canada. The process of local assembly formation also proceeded apace, so that by 1928 there were 47 of these bodies in North America, 12 in Europe, and 9 in what I've termed the Anglo-Pacific, that's Australia, New Zealand, and Hawaii. Apart from North America, Germany and Britain, the only other early Western Baha'i community to be able to form its own national assembly was that of Australia and New Zealand. Progress towards this goal was slow, however, and it was not achieved until 1934, a date which marks the end of the initial phase of National Spiritual Assembly formation. Elsewhere in the West, Baha'i groups were too small to follow suit, and the various European groups, including France, did not form their national assemblies until the 1950s or later. I should say that in the original article there are tables which I'm not including here, so there's more information in the article. Institutional developments. The formation of the assemblies represented a major change in the structure of the Baha'i communities. There had been organizing bodies before 1922, but they had basically lacked directive authority. The new assemblies encouraged the centralization of authority and provided the basis for an assertion of power. This was particularly the case in North America, where the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States and Canada rapidly assumed its new responsibilities and pioneered a series of new administrative arrangements. I should say in passing that I've written an article detailing Shoghi Effendi's instructions to the North Americans on this matter, which I'll also include in the notes below. These new arrangements included the establishment of a national office, a full-time salaried national secretary with considerable executive authority, a centralized national fund, and appointed committees responsible for the main areas of Baha'i activity. Everything that was Baha'i came within its purview. A definite legal basis for the administration was also established through formal incorporation, thereby enabling the National Assembly to hold property and receive bequests. At Shoghi Effendi's encouragement, other national assemblies later followed suit. A related change was in the basis for membership in the Baha'i faith. In place of the vague inclusivity that had formerly prevailed, the National Assembly adopted formal criteria of membership. A membership roll was prepared, and new Baha'is were required to record their confessions of faith on enrollment cards. Existing memberships were validated through the issuing of individual credential cards. Again, these innovations were later adopted by other national assemblies at Shoghi Effendi's instructions. There were further administrative developments, which I'm not going to cover here, in the 1950s at an international level with the International Baha'i Council and the Appointed Hands of the Cause and auxiliary boards. But the main initial organizational shift was with the establishment of local and national spiritual assemblies. So, if you want a general overview of Baha'i history, then there is still my ancient Babi and Baha'i religions, from Messianic Shiism to a world religion, which deals with these changes at a more general level. That was published in 1987. Then there's also my very short summary, The Baha'i Faith, published by One World in 1999. And then in terms of general introductions to the Baha'i faith, there's my Cambridge introduction and a concise encyclopedia of the Baha'i faith put out by One World. So, thank you very much for listening, and thank you in particular to my patrons for their kind support and encouragement, which really makes a big difference in making these videos. If you would like to support my work, please do like, comment and share on the videos. Subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. I'll give Patreon and PayPal links below if you want to provide practical support. Next week, we'll talk about organizational transformation, the second part. So have a good day.